Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival. And so today I just wanted to come on and chat a little bit about food and water and what you can eat and what you can't eat and drink and all that kind of stuff after a nuclear war. So I know that, lots of people are worried about nuclear war and all that kind of stuff. And, that's a pretty legitimate concern. I still think it's probably a 95% chance that we're not going to have any issues, but it seems that there's at least possible, could happen, and I say that just because it seems as though the international community is sort of backing Putin into a corner based off of his personality traits and that kind of thing. I'm not too sure that he is the kind of person who's going to take a loss, and so he has to have some sort of something that he can save face with and consider a victory. So is everything sounding okay for the folks that are watching? Could you guys hear me okay and see me all right and everything? You can hit me up in the chat. That would be great. Just let me know. Okay, so we'll start this off here with talking about what food and water you can eat and drink. So the first thing to remember is that there is a difference between food that has been contaminated with radionuclides or nuclear fallout, by getting it onto the food and or inside of it, versus it has been sealed up in a container and all that kind of stuff. So let's see if I can break this down right. So we'll start out with any food that has been in a container or a package or sealed up and that kind of thing. Even if that package happened to get fallout on it, then it is fine to consume. Problem is you need to make sure that you get all of that fallout off of that package, or make sure that that you decontaminate it prior to opening it up and everything like that. So, and that food has been irradiated. It's not radioactive, but it's been irradiated. And actually, there's a lot of food manufacturing processes in the United States that does intentionally irradiate food, so that it kills bacteria and different things like that, because that's also dangerous to certain types of bacteria and stuff like that. So anything that has been put into a bucket or sealed up in bags and boxes and cans and all that kind of stuff, even if it was exposed to gamma radiation from fallout, let's say it was just in your pantry was next to an exterior wall, the nuclear fallout came back down and worried about the penetration of the gamma rays into your pantry. That food is fine to eat, especially if your house is sealed up and it was inside and it didn't have any fallout on it. That's all good to go. Even food, believe it or not, there was a military operation. There was a military operation back in the 50s, I think it was 57, called Operation Teapot. And they tested beverages and beer and stuff like that, cans of Coke and all that. And they placed some of those items within 1,270 feet of a detonation. And that stuff, it was irradiated by the radioactive wave that came from the nuke itself. That food was still edible, are still able to be consumed. So food that has been irradiated is okay to eat. Same thing with water, same thing with any other beverage. If it's been in a container, it's fine. Now here's where you run into problems. If you have from like an open ground source or something along those lines, then if the fallout comes down, it'll settle on the top, and then there are heavier particles. They're going to eventually sink to the bottom. If you scoop up that food and stir up those particles, and those particles get in your water, and then you drink them without filtering it, then that is going to be a problem for you. That is also a problem for deer and cattle and birds and wildlife that live out, out in the wild and all that kind of thing. So, if you are in an area that has received a lot of fallout coming down from the particles coming down, settling out of the atmosphere, if you're downwind from a detonation or whatever the case may be, hunting and that kind of thing is not going to be a really great option for quite a while. It's when you're looking at animals as far as if you can eat them in a post-apocalyptic nuclear environment, essentially, if it looks sick, if it's acting sick, if it's exhibiting the signs of burns and radiation and all that kind of stuff, then you just want to stay away from it altogether, because it's obviously been harmed by radiation, and it's not going to be good. Because the problem is that as these like with deer and cows and stuff like that, for example, they're eating the grass that has fallout on it, and then that fallout gets inside them and it spreads throughout their internal organs and in their bones and those kind of things, and that is what causes them to get radiation sickness and could eventually end up die or whatever. Now, in a worse case survival situation, if you had nothing else to eat and you had to, go hunting or whatever the case may be, then they say only as a last resort, you want to try to find the healthiest animal possible. And then after you shoot it, you've got to be very careful about how you're cleaning it and all that kind of stuff. And you want to leave all the internal organs, and you want to make sure that you cut the meat at least 1/4 of an inch from the bone. That's what we used to teach in the survival school. And then when you take that meat and you process it, obviously you want to wash it really good and everything, and then cut it into thin strips, less than a 1/2 inch thick, and cook it well done, they say. But there still is a considerable chance that you're going to get some sort of, fallout contamination from eating animals that have been in that situation. So you need to try to stay away from it. As far as food goes, the best thing is stuff that's been sealed up. That's why as preppers, we have a lot of rice, wheat, oatmeal, corn, salt, sugar, all that kind of stuff put back, so that, and beans and all that, so that you can have that to eat, because all that stuff would be good to go. You wouldn't have any problem with that. And it's going to take it in a nuclear situation. If it was an all-out war or whatever the case may be, that's going to be pretty problematic, because it breaks down the whole transportation system and all that kind of stuff. And even if there are areas that are capable of producing grains and stuff like that after the fact, they are probably going to have a difficult time transporting that around. So that's why you need to be stocked up yourself to be able to take care of yourself for as long as possible. When it comes to growing food in a fallout environment, basically you're going to need to remove probably 8 to 10 inches of topsoil before you try to grow anything. You have to take all that topsoil out and put it somewhere where it can just decay over time, and it could take quite a while for that fallout to decay entirely, so that you wouldn't have any problems growing in it. Okay, so basically you're just going to forget about it for a couple of decades. Whatever you do with that topsoil, you're just going to put it away. Once you scraped away that 8 or 10 inches of soil, you know, at that point, it might be a really good idea in that environment to build or construct like a high tunnel, kind of a greenhouse or something like that over it, so that you don't experience additional fallout as weather patterns change and all that kind of stuff. And you want to protect that soil as best you could from getting any fallout on it, and then grow vegetables in there. That's going to be, you know, so a greenhouse or a high tunnel kind of situation is really going to be your best bet when it comes to trying to grow vegetables after, you know, in the nuclear fallout. So with water, we talked a little bit about this. Open ground sources are not going to be good. Your well is probably going to be fine. It's probably still a good idea to run it through a good water filter and reverse osmosis system, just to make sure. I showed you guys that I'm an affiliate with them, New Aqua Systems. There's a link down in the description below, or there should be. And you know, having a system like that can filter out everything just to make sure is a pretty good idea, just to make sure. But packaged water is fine. Well water will probably be fine. If you're going to pull water from an open water source, what you want to do is you want to try to find a pond or a lake that does not currently have or not get a lot of wind exposure. So places like streams in a nuclear environment, places like streams, not going to be good. Rivers, lakes, or rivers and streams, creeks, those you want to stay away from probably, unless that's the only option you have. Ponds are going to be the best, or a little better than those, because they don't have much movement, and so the fallout will go down. And then what you'd want to do is you'd want to draw from like, you know, maybe a foot down or so, if you could, and pull the water out of there is without disturbing the area as much as possible. And then you're going to make a filter where you essentially take like a 5-gallon bucket, and you're going to put some gravel in the bottom of it, maybe 3-4 inches of gravel. Then you're going to have about 8 to 10 inches of clay soil. And then you want to take a like a cloth and put that down inside of the bucket, kind of put some stones around the edges to hold it in place. And then you pour the water in and let that filter through that real clayey soil. Got a mosquito in here. And what that's going to do is that's going to help filter out those fallout particles. Then I would still run it through a couple of additional filters if it was me, before I would drink it, and just to be sure, you know. Or you could do that same process multiple times, you know, something along those lines. And those are going to go pretty slow, those kinds of filters. Obviously, you got to put holes in the bottom of the bucket and have something to catch it and all that kind of stuff. I would run it through I would run it through a Berkey after I would run it through a clay filter. That, I think, is probably going to be a better option. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about with water. We're talking about getting it from lakes. Oh, so probably the best way to get water in an open water environment is going to be a seepage well. So basically, with the seepage well, you're going to find a water source, and let's say that that water source is, you know, a pond or something like that, or a creek. It doesn't really make any difference. You want to come back off of that pond or creek at least 5 feet, and then yeah, Jenny, well water should be safe as long as it's not an open top well. But you want to come back off of that water source, you're at least 5 feet, and you want to be very careful about how you dig the first 8 to 10 inches of soil. Take that soil and put it somewhere else, because that soil has probably been irradiated with fallout. So you want to carefully move that into another area, and then you want to dig down a hole until you get to your water table. And then when that hole starts to fill with water, all that water that's coming in to the hole is going to be good to drink. Now, you probably still want to run it through a filter, but the earth has been filtering it as it goes. That's the idea about using a seepage well. And then you want to, once you make that, then you want to go ahead and make sure that the seepage well stays covered. So take a tarp or something along those lines and just lay over the top of it to make, and put some rocks down to hold it down or whatever to make sure that it doesn't get any contamination in it. And that's probably going to be the best way to get groundwater, as far as that goes. Let's see here. Trying to think of what else there was with food. If you guys got questions on food, go ahead and let me know. Meat, stuff like that in the freezer and all those kind of things, all that food should be good to go if it's wrapped up and packaged and everything like that, as long as it hasn't, lost its temperature to where it's spoiled or whatever. If you've been able to maintain it staying cool, then you should be good to go. All right. Oh, hey, what's going on, Homestead Homeboy? The other thing to think about while on this topic is if you are going to be sheltering in your house for, as a fallout shelter or whatever, then you would want to you would want to make sure that you had some MREs or something along those lines. That's probably going to be the best kind of food and bottled water to take in, as your food and water reserves in your shelter area. And the reason I say that is because then you don't have to worry about cooking and all that kind of stuff. You can just eat it straight out of the packages, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to deal with. They also tend to stop you up, so you won't have so much to deal with as far as the sanitation and all that kind of stuff. And I've got another video that I'm going to do on what you need to do as far as things you can do to get your house ready to be a shelter, basically, to be a fallout shelter and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that is pretty much that. I can't think of anything else. If you guys have got any other comments, or if you've got anything you want to add, any questions on food or water or whatever, then throw them in here real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. I don't want to get it too long, but just wanted to throw this out there for everybody. Food for thought. And I'll try to throw some links to some of this stuff down in the description below. Mark Wilson says that the U.S. Army Field Manual 3-7 is easily available for download. It has lots of charts and graphs and all that kind of stuff in it too. And I'll try to put some sources again down in the description below too. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button. If you are looking to stock up on food, if you don't have any, if you don't think you have enough, then you can go over to realitysurvivalfood.com and check that out. That is through My Patriot Supply, and they've got pretty decent discounted prices on there. And the reason that I've gone with them as a supplier is because, and I have other affiliates in the description link as well, but what I found is that they are they're the best about staying in stock. My guess is that you're going to hear pretty soon, and I don't know exactly when, but here pretty soon you're going to start to see bottled water and long-term food storage and all that kind of stuff is going to be getting sold out, because people are going to naturally become more and more worried. As the longer this Ukrainian conflict goes on, the more people are going to get worried about it, and they're going to start buying stuff. So if you haven't already stocked up, I recommend that you do that. And realitysurvivalfood.com is the one place you can go. There's lots of other ones out there, and I'm affiliate with several of them as well. You can check the links in the description below. But you should have some stuff, just in case. It's not very likely that something's going to happen, but you hate to get caught with your pants down and not be able to feed your family and your kids and all that kind of stuff if something bad did happen. Because as far as grain stores in the United States, there's only about depending on what source you read, anywhere from 2 months to about 12 months worth of supply to feed the population. And it would depend on them being able to transport all that stuff to your location. And that is not very likely in a nuclear kind of environment. So that's why you need to have it on hand for yourself. So awesome. Yeah, Morris Venture said, I stocked up with Augusta Farms when they had a sale. That's good, because Augusta Farms good too. I'm not necessarily saying that any one thing is better than any other. I'm just saying get what you can, because it doesn't really matter what you get. Just have enough out there. Tammy K said, does your discount for Bear First Aid bucket still work? It should, as far as I know, unless they turned it off. You should give it a shot and try. I think it'll save you 10%. Reality Survival, I think it was. Yeah, Homestead Homeboy says it's better to have it and not need it, not have it. And that's, you know, the good thing about those buckets and all that kind of stuff is that they last, you know, up to 25 years. So if you buy them now, you put them back in your closet, you put them somewhere, you know, you kind of forget about it. And then you don't have to worry about it for a long time. You don't have to keep rebuying it every 5 years or whatever the case may be. It's going to last a long time before it goes bad. So it's a good, easy way to do that. You can do that yourself too by stocking up on your own rice and your own beans and wheat and flour, whatever. Not flour so much, but more the wheat berries and corn and all that stuff. And I've shown you guys videos on the past on how to do that kind of stuff as well. So anyway, guys, all right, well, I'm gonna hop off here. Appreciate you watching and look forward to some more videos on nuclear survival stuff. If you guys haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button and click the thumbs up button for me too on your way out. Don't forget to live 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Hey, Tammy, sorry, I just caught your question here. Yeah, the discount for the EMP Shield, it should work. It's just Reality Survival. You go to empshield.com and use the discount code Reality Survival when you check out, and it should save you $50 per unit. And that's a good thing to have. They're real easy to install. I've got some videos on installing them for both vehicles and for the house, and for the generator as well, for the whole house generator and stuff too. So just depending on how you got your stuff set up and all that, you should be good to go. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.